The allegations are out, and it seems that there was, at least according to documents we have not seen yet, payments of $5 million plus to the Bidens for the purpose of changing policy. So we're going to talk about everything that's come out today, some of the things that have been left out, and some of the other aspects surrounding a lot of this. I've got a lot to say about this, so we're going to spend some time on this today. But we will get through as much of it as we can, and we will keep on going down the line and see what else is happening in the world. In other news, the U.S. Supreme Court backs voting rights law and tosses out Alabama's congressional districts, which, well, I'll leave my opinion for what's happening there until we get down to that, and I will talk about what I think that means and where we go. Gavin Newsom proposes a 28th Amendment that will somehow leave the Second Amendment intact, but still strip the essence of the Second Amendment. So we'll talk a bit about what's happening there and what's going on with that. And Ron DeSantis visits the southern border and seizes the immigration issue as hard as he can. Plus, we've got things that I like and things that I hate at the end of the show today, so stick around for that. It is going to be all of this and more. If you send me $5 million, I will try to change policy too. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Guys, we have got a lot to go over today. It's weird, too, because we actually, again, we finished everything out yesterday. It was all done. The stack was clear, but now we are sitting out here with another full stack. Now, again, a third of the stack that we have up here is things that I like and things that I hate, so we've got some stuff to go over here today over on Contemporary. Definitely stick around for that. We've got video, we've got tweets, we've got audio, we've got Bill Barr, we have got a lot, because apparently the gig is up and the fix is in for the Biden admin, so we'll be talking about that and what's happening there and what we do with that. Again, there's just a ton to go over, and from what I've seen, and by the way, I have not pre-read a lot of what's going on with this, but from what I've seen thus far, it does seem like maybe we should be starting to crack open some of those classified things here because, well, let's face it, when the government can classify whatever it wants and we can't see any of the documents, then we come out to a point where we can't trust what even the politicians that we agree with are saying. So we're going to go over a lot of this here. Nancy Mace, by the way, having probably the best take on this entire situation, and we will talk about that and more over here on Contemporary. So strap yourselves in, get some snacks, have a good seat, because some of this stuff is going to get really dense, and there's going to be a lot of information that's flying here as quickly as I can possibly get it, because we have so much on the stack for the day. So strap yourselves in, tell a friend, get some more people in here. Let's get the live chat pumping and bumping, because the more you guys chat, the more I get promoted out to more people on the various platforms we're on. So let's get that going and let's get started. Before we do, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, The No Gimmicks Podcast, Silent Caster, and Clown World Chronicles. Go check out all that great programming as we attempt to bring you a better news experience from the common man for the common man. That is right. For too long, we've all got our news and our culture and our politics from people who wear suits that cost more than our houses. No more. Stop getting your news from people who hate you, who wear that suit that costs more than your house. Get your news from people who are just like you. And with that, we're going to get into it and get started. We're going to start today with a finance, as we always do. Hey, look, that's me. Let's get that up off the screen and let's get started. Starting with the Dow, which, mysteriously enough, with the Dow being up, CNBC is back on the front page for the Dow. Isn't it weird how that works? Including stuff that, not just them, but it's a bunch of stuff that happened within the last 24 hours and even the last hour as well. Weird, when the Dow is doing bad, all the major news outlets just hide all their news away, but when it's doing well, oh, we all want to get in on this because praise Biden. The Dow is sitting at 33,833.61. That took a significant jump, almost 0.5% on the day, to 33,833.61, 168.59 points up on the day. A little bit of a falter at the beginning of the day before spending the rest of the day steadily up. So it's not huge numbers. It's not life-changing numbers. Some of it is coming back. We will see what happens with that and where that goes. Looking in at your Bitcoin, which is taking a little bit more of a roller coaster ride on the day today. It was up. It did end up on the day. It is at 226,544.50. That is up 198 US dollars and 10 US cents, or 0.75 percentage point on the day. So that is what we have for that. Looking in at your gas prices, we get the Rumble chat up here while we're going here, by the way. We should probably have done that first, but looking at your gas prices on the day, we had a small jump on the gas in Madison, Wisconsin today. $3.60 on the west side, $3.60 on the east side, with outlier Shell entering into the isthmus being the $3.40 and the BP over on the west side being a $3.50 outlier, but for the most part everybody else is sitting at $3.60. So these gas prices may not reflect your specific local gas prices, but the patterns should shake out to be just about the same. So you can probably expect to see a slight 10-cent jump on the day today. And we will continue to watch this and see where this goes and see what the gas prices continue to do, as we've been watching this particular market for 3 years and watching the patterns go there. Let's grab one from CNBC. On your finance, Dow rises more than 160 points to notch third straight day of gains. S&P 500 hits new closing high for 2023. From Hak Yoon Kim, not a record high, but a new closing high for 2023. Stocks climbed Thursday as the market built on its recent gains, and traders looked ahead to key inflation data next week, as well as the Federal Reserve's latest policy announcement. The Dow added 168.5 points, or 0.5%, to close at 33,833.61. The S&P traded 0.62% higher and ended the day at 4293.93, its highest closing in 2023. The Nasdaq climbed a full percent, closing at 13,238.52. Amazon-propelled tech shares are higher after bullish analyst commentary. The e-commerce giant's shares rose 2.5% and helped the tech select sector SPDR fund climb more than 1%. The S&P 500 is coming off a down session, but is still within striking distance of the key 4,300 level, not 43,000. The broader market index also hit its highest level since August this week, adding to a 2.7% rally. Month to date, the index is higher 11.8% year to date. So a few things that are moving on that. It's looking like, well, they're thinking that, and they do this, they've done this several times over the past couple years, where they can go back and they can pause their interest rate hikes and everything's going to be hunky-dory. I hate to tell you this, but every time you guys do that, you get another horrible blast of inflation. So we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. Looking in at your layoffs report today from Variety, the LA Times is your layoffs report of the day. LA Times took out 13% of newsroom jobs, union outraged over layoffs. from Todd Spangler. The LA Times, facing a declining ad revenue, and leadership is eliminating 74 editorial jobs, representing about 13% of the total newsroom. The LA Times Guild, an affiliate of Media Guild of the West, issued a statement that the union was outraged by the job cuts and blindsided by the news. Staffers at the paper learned of the cut in a memo sent Wednesday from executive editor Kevin Morita, who wrote that the decision was made for urgent by the economic climate and the unique challenges of our industry. The LA Times reported, well, that and the fact that you hide everything behind a paywall, which means, or an ad blocker software. You're not a paywall one, you're an ad blocker software one, which means that most of your articles are getting archived, so those of us who have ad blockers can still read them. So some of this is you kind of did this to yourself. Going forward, the LA Times expects the newsroom staff to be about 500 or more. VP of Communications Hillary Manning said, "We have made the difficult decision to undergo reorganization and eliminate certain positions within the company. The hardest decisions to make are those that impact our employees, and we're not taking this action lightly," Manning said in a statement, as she celebrated the fact that her stock holdings are now going to go up because salaries and payment options are going to go down. '80s Kid says, "I wish I'd known about Bitcoin back in the day. I would have bought about 10 bags of sand or 10 grand. I would have sold it at its peak and made a fortune." The Mogwai says, "How's the print media still making money? They're more useless than the Dewey Decimal System." They're making money off the fact that most of the people who use the mainstream and the print media like this, they're doing this off of the websites, and they're pulling ad revenue off of it. It's the same way I hope to grow Turns and Pages Productions when we go. Except if you're going to use an ad blocker, I'm not going to fault you because I use an ad blocker too. We'll find another way around that at some point. And some of it is going on donations and grants as well, just like we are here. The only thing that funds this program is either me taking money from my other job or donations from you guys. So right now the goal and the donations is the studio, the new studio, which comes in a new house. So anytime you guys put in a sub or gift a sub or make a donation over on Rumble, that all goes into the new house fund over here. There's money in there. Some of it, well, my mom and dad left me when they gave me this. They left a $20 bill in there, but I put some money into this as well. And yeah, every time there's been a donation, a sub or anything else, that money plus whatever cut the platform takes goes into here. So that's what we're working towards right now. But yeah, it's all fan funded over here, and a lot of the newsprint is as well. So that's what we see going on with that. And of course on YouTube you'll never have to watch an ad, and on Twitch I do thank you for watching ads over there. I do. I thank you from the bottom of my heart over on Twitch that you're watching an ad over there. Alright, let's get into some of the main news of the day. We do have a passing report, unfortunately. Pat Robertson, Christian televangelist and one-time presidential candidate, dies at age 93. And we'll talk a bit more about this and things that I hate at the end of the show, but man, did the left really hate this guy. Oh my god. Oh man, did they ever hate this guy. From Eric Levinson, Michelle Watson, and David Williams. Pat Robertson, a prominent televangelist who funded the Christian Broadcasting Network, made the Christian right a powerful political force and unsuccessfully ran for president in '88, died on Thursday, the network said in a news release. How can you possibly be more evangelocon than HW? Enough that you want to run against him. Pat Robertson, longtime TV host, religious broadcaster, educator, humanitarian, and one-time presidential candidate, died in his home in Virginia Beach early Thursday morning. He was 93, the release said. Regent University in Virginia also released a statement saying it was mourning the loss of Robertson. We are deeply saddened by the loss of our beloved founder, Regent University Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, William L. Hathaway said. Dr. Robertson was a globally renowned leader, broadcaster, philanthropist, educator, author, accomplished businessman, and most importantly, a faithful servant of God, who dedicated his life to glorifying the Lord and sharing the gospel of Christ. Born in 1930, Robertson founded the Christian Broadcasting Network in 1960. Was ordained as a Southern Baptist minister later that year. He used that perch, including his daily show, the 700 Club, named for its goal of 700 members whose pledges would keep the station afloat financially, to push his message of conservative Christian values to people at home, taking aim at gay rights, feminism, abortion, and other social issues. Basically, he was Stephen Ignoramus before there was Stephen Ignoramus. Robertson helped transform the conservative evangelical movement into a political force on the American right that helped elect Ronald Reagan. He then ran for the Republican nomination for president in 1988, coming in behind both H.W. and Bob Dole. Afterward, he founded the Christian Coalition of America, which promoted the conservative Christian political candidates, and returned to the 700 Club. Over his many years, Robertson made a series of inflammatory and controversial opinions, and repeatedly said that acts of terrorism or natural disasters were a form of divine retribution for perceived immorality. After the 9/11 attacks, Robertson agreed with fellow televangelist Jerry Falwell that God allowed the terrorists to succeed because America had moved to the left and removed religion from the mainstream. I was never a Robertson fan. This program itself is considered to be conservative, so I thought that it was useful to put this on here. I myself was never a Robertson fan, but I've also never been an evangelo-con in any stretch of the imagination. I stood against Bush, loudly and proudly, for the same reasons that I would have politically stood against Pat Robertson. Now, my own religious beliefs, of course, I probably align a lot with Pat Robertson personally, but as many of you who saw me take the political compass test live on a live stream would note, that one of the big things that sets me apart from my evangelo-con and Christian conservative friends is the fact that I conduct my house in a Christian and conservative manner. What happens outside of my house, I have no desire to use the power of the government to enforce and push down people's throats. That has always been my stance. That's always been where I've seen this. And quite frankly, I think the people who are trying to use the government gun to force people into a Christian line, like Pat Robertson, are no different than the people who are trying to force them into the boys wearing the girl's skirt and chopping off the wee-wees in elementary school. It goes both ways. But Pat Robertson has passed along. We've got one from the Associated Press on that as well because, well, I just wanted to see how heavily this was editorialized. Pat Robertson, broadcaster who helped make religion central to GOP politics, dies at 93, from Ben Finley. Pat Robertson, a religious broadcaster who turned a tiny Virginia station into the global Christian Broadcasting Network, tried to run for president and helped make religion central to the Republican Party politics in America through his Christian Coalition, has died. He was 93. Robertson's death Thursday was confirmed in an email by his broadcasting network. No cause was given. Robertson's enterprises also include Regent University, an evangelical Christian school in Virginia Beach, the American Center for Law and Justice, which defends the First Amendment rights of religious people, and Operation Blessing, an international humanitarian organization. For more than a half a century, Robertson was a familiar presence in American living rooms, known for his 700 Club television show and, in later years, his televised pronouncements of God's judgment, usually delivered with a smile as a gentle lament that blamed natural disasters on gays and feminists and accused Black Lives Matter demonstrators of being anti-Christian. Robertson was a happy warrior who was soft-spoken, urbane, and well-read, said Ralph Reed, who ran the Christian Coalition in the 90s. He was not some backwoods preacher, Reed said. He was very enthralling, avuncular, and charming. He had a great sense of humor. The money poured in as he solicited donations, his influence soared, and he brought a huge following with him when he moved directly into politics, seeking the GOP presidential nomination in 1988. So, not as much editorialization as I thought it was going to be. I thought for sure that we were going to say that he's burning in hell at this point. But that is where we are at for that. let's get into the $5 million. Strap yourselves in. We're going to be spending some time on this. All right, from NBC News to start with, Comer cancels Wray contempt vote after FBI offers to let full oversight committee review the Biden document. From Summer Concepcion, Ali Vitali, Ryan Nobles, and Kyle Stewart. The FBI has offered to let all members of the House Oversight Committee view a redacted document that the GOP chairman, James Comer, claims describes an allegation of a bribe to Joe Biden when he was vice president, said a source familiar with the negotiations around the panel's subpoena to acquire the document. The offer of a briefing to the full Oversight Committee, first reported by CNN, came as the panel prepared to meet later this week to consider the measure to hold the FBI Director Wray in contempt of Congress for not complying with the subpoena to turn over the document. Late Wednesday, Comer announced he was canceling the meeting to consider the contempt resolution. The full committee business meeting to vote on holding the Director Wray in contempt of Congress is now removed from Thursday's schedule, he said. The top Democrat on the committee, Jamie Raskin, said in a statement Chairman Comer's acceptance of these further accommodations comes after he spent weeks attacking the FBI despite its extraordinary efforts to provide committee Republicans the information they claim to seek. Yes, but not take out and review and analyze. Just come in and, oh, hey, look, hey, you can read it, you can see it. Oh, okay, now you gotta go. Bye-bye. The Mogwai, you say that. Apparently as somebody who's never seen the Daily Ignoramus, that level of evangelocon still exists. Comer released a contempt resolution against Wray on Wednesday, even after the FBI had already let him and ranking member Jamie Raskin view the document on Capitol Hill this week. Comer subpoenaed the FBI last month for the document called an FD 1023 form, which he and Chuck Grassley alleged describes an alleged criminal scheme involving then Vice President Biden and a foreign national relating to the exchange of money for policy decisions. Comer has said the scheme involved a $5 million payment from a foreign national in exchange for a policy outcome. There's a lot of cope already going on around this too. The FBI declined to provide the document, saying it is bound by Justice Department policy, which strictly limits when and how confidential human source information can be provided outside of the FBI. Comer then vowed to move forward with holding Wray in contempt of Congress unless he turned over the document. In a phone call with Comer, Grassley, and Wray last week, Wray had offered to allow the leaders of the committee to review the document in a secure manner, the FBI said. So, and a lot of this does seem like this is a lot of cover-up too. Now, if this was a classified document, which amazingly it wasn't, by the way, that is, given who Obama was, who Biden was, and the fact that they, I'm sure, knew that this document existed. I'm blown away at this point that this was not classified. Like, I went back and reread a couple of my sources 2 or 3 times when we first started talking about this last week. Like, are you sure this isn't classified? Number one, how secretive they're being about it, and number two, what it allegedly contains. Are we sure that this isn't classified? But no, it wasn't. Which means that a subpoena means that Wray's got to turn it over, be held in contempt. And I'm pretty sure that he was holding out and just letting them have little bit by little bit, because he was waiting for the FBI lawyers to come back and say, no, we can get you out of this. And I'm willing to make a conjecture that that news probably didn't come. In fact, they probably got the opposite decision of, no, dude, if you don't do this, you might actually go to jail. On Monday, the FBI briefed Comer and Raskin on Capitol Hill to give them a chance to review the document. A senior law enforcement official said last week the FBI would redact information that could reveal the source's identity. That's going to be important as we look into this as well. So we've got a few things that are moving on this right now. We've got a few things that are being talked about and a few things that are happening. Allegedly, at this point, and I will hold this to the same standard as I hold the classified documents to. I will be consistent about this. We have not seen what's in this document. And until we, the American people, see what's in this document, we can sit here and conjecture all day long. We can listen to our Republican people, especially in some of our cases, who reinforce what we believe already. We can sit and listen to them and say, yes, these are the smoking gun, these are the silver bullet. This is what's going to take Biden down. We can listen to their Democratic counterparts tell us, this is all nothing and everything in here is fake and there's nothing for you to see here, and stop looking and stop listening. But realistically, we don't know what's in these documents. And again, this is the same standard that I hold for the classified documents that are allegedly in Trump's possession. We don't know what's in these documents. The news media can tell us it's Iranian nuclear secrets and it's something that he's selling to Saudi Arabia and it's something that could collapse this entire country, but we don't know what's in these documents. Yeah, 80s Kid says nothing is classified unless Trump has it. Then it's highly classified, and he's the only one who can get in trouble for it. So everything is out. We will see what happens and where this goes. One of the things that was pointed out to me, because I actually got into a discussion about this at work today, was the fact that while yes, these payments were allegedly, if the documents are to be believed of what we believe them to be, that Biden was bribed in order to make policy, but the vice president doesn't make policy. I mean, he's the tie-breaking vote in a tied Senate, as Kamala Harris is was. Not is right now, but was at the time. But the vice president doesn't set or make policy, which we'll see where this goes and what happens, but there is a possibility that this goes all the way up to Biden, or Obama rather. And in tinfoil hat land, there's also a possibility running through my head that part of the reason this is coming out is because, and coming out in public, is because this does lead to Obama, but they're throwing Joey under the bus right now because he's made a series of missteps as the president and his approval rating is super high. I'm sorry, his approval rating is low, his disapproval rating is super high. Wow, I'm starting to talk like Joe Biden here already. So they throw him under the bus, they pull him out of office, Cackles becomes the president, and we never talk about this kind of thing again. But we never talk about where it goes and who made the policy that was being bribed for. So there are a few moving parts about this. One of the other things that I want to talk about with this, before we move on and talk more about this, is just how much of a challenge it was to do a show in the style of contemporary that I do, with the sources we're at hand. Now, when I do research for contemporary, and we're going to do a little bit of behind the scenes here for just a second. When I do research for contemporary, I use Google because it's what they use. So the sources that I have in front of me are the same things that your average leftoid who feeds into this kind of stuff is going to have in front of that person. Furthermore, and this was something I was actually just criticized for in the Discord, I only use green check verified sources. And when I went and looked for this, for Biden bribery, that was the terms that I Googled for this, I got a wall of Fox News and absolutely nothing else. The mainstreams aren't talking about this. They aren't going anywhere near this for probably pretty good reason. And then Midget B over in the Discord told me, whoa, what about Breitbart and Conservative Brief and We Are Change.org and Post-Millennial and... Well, in the list that he gave me, the Post-Millennial is the only one that's actually green check verified. And again, I use their news sources against them. I point out the editorialization, find where the objectivity is. I've always done that. You guys know that. For those of you who've been watching the show for a long time, you know that's how I do things around here. But that is what we were seeing with that. Let's grab one from the New York Times. Just briefly on this one, Comer cancels raid contempt vote as FBI agrees to share document. From Luke Broadwater. Republicans late Wednesday canceled their plans to begin contempt of Congress proceedings against Christopher A. Wray, the FBI director, after the agency agreed to make available to all members of the Oversight Committee a document containing a years-old unsubstantiated... Yeah, they're editorializing this too. Right here, this is one of the reasons I like using their websites and their publications against them. Because we can sit here and see the editorialization there. A years-old, unsubstantiated allegation of bribery against President Biden. He's already trying to poison the water. And this is going to be what our friends on the left use when they come back out, especially to try to argue this on Twitter of, oh, the New York Times told me this is unsubstantiated. Mind you, Luke Broadwater has absolutely no indication that this is unsubstantiated. Because he doesn't know what's in the documents. Neither do the rest of us. The decision was a rare dialing back of a concerted effort by House Republicans to target the... Oh my god. I can't read this. There's editorialization and then there's this crap. To target the federal law enforcement agencies, they seek to push accusations of wrongdoing by Mr. Biden. Mr. Wray's team allowed Representative Jim Comer of Kentucky and Chairman of the Oversight Committee and Rep. Jamie Raskin of Maryland, the ranking Democrat, to view a redacted copy of the document in a secure area of the Capitol on Monday and brief them on it for more than an hour. Again, that redacted copy, that's going to come back later. But the FBI declined to allow lawmakers to take copies of the document out of the secure facility or show them an unredacted version that reveals the name of a longtime Bureau informant, arguing such inaction could compromise its source and scare other informants from cooperating with the Bureau's investigation. That angered Mr. Comer, who had scheduled a vote on Thursday in his committee on a resolution to hold Mr. Wray in contempt. The FBI has caved, Mr. Comer said in a statement on Wednesday, and is now allowing members of the Oversight and Accountability Committee to review the unclassified record that memorializes confidential human sources, conversations with foreign nationals who claimed to have bribed then Vice President Biden. Mr. Raskin described the allegations after his briefing this week as hearsay, which they are not, by the way. Allegedly, again, we don't know what's in the document. So, yeah, I can't keep going on the New York Times. Sorry. I know we like to laugh at the redactions and everything, but I can't keep doing this. This is ridiculous. Let's grab our first one from Fox. Joe Biden allegedly paid $5 million by Burisma executive as part of a bribery scheme, according to the FBI document. From Brooks Singman. President Biden has allegedly paid $5 million by an executive of the Ukrainian natural gas firm Burisma Holdings, where his son, Hunter, sat on the board, a confidential human source told the FBI during a June 2020 interview. Sources familiar told Fox News Digital. The sources briefed Fox News Digital on the contents of the FBI-generated FD-1023 form, alleging a criminal bribery scheme between then Vice President Biden and a foreign national that involved influence over U.S. policy decisions. The FD-1023 form, dated June 30, 2020, is the FBI's interview with a highly credible confidential source who detailed multiple meetings and conversations he or she had with a top Burisma executive over the course of several years. Starting in 2015, Fox News Digital has not seen the form, but it was described by several sources who are aware of the contents, unnamed as always. An FD-1023 form is used by agents to record unverified reporting from confidential human sources. The form is used to document information as told to an FBI agent, but recording that information does not validate or weigh it against other information known by the FBI. Also important to note when we talk about this. The Burisma executive sought the advice of the confidential source, a business professional, on gaining U.S. oil rights and getting involved with a U.S. oil company. The source is familiar with the document said. The Burisma executive was speaking with the confidential source to get advice on the best way to go forward in 2015 and 2016. According to the FD 1023 form, the confidential human source said the Burisma executive discussed Hunter's role on the board. The confidential source questioned why the Burisma executive needed his or her advice in acquiring access to U.S. oil if he had Hunter Biden on the board. The Burisma exec answered by referring to Hunter Biden as dumb, which is probably not a bad description. The Burisma executive explained the confidential source that Burisma had to pay the Bidens because Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin was investigating Burisma, and explained how difficult it would be to enter the U.S. market in the midst of that investigation. The confidential source detailed that conversation, suggesting to the Burisma executive that he pay the Bidens $50,000 each, to which the Burisma executives replied, "Not $50,000, it's $5 million. $5 million for one Biden, $5 million for the other Biden," the Burisma executive told the confidential human source, according to a source familiar with the document. The source familiar said according to the document, the $5 million payments appeared to reference a kind of retainer Burisma had intended to pay the Bidens to deal with a number of issues, including the investigation led by Shokin. Another source referred to the arrangement as a pay-to-play scheme. Sources familiar told Fox News Digital that the confidential human source believes that the $5 million payment to Biden and the $5 million payment to Hunter occurred based on his or her conversations with the Burisma executive. The confidential source says Burisma told him he paid the Bidens in such a manner through so many different bank accounts the investigators would not be able to unravel this for at least 10 years. The document then makes reference to the big guy, which has been said to be a reference to Joe Biden. The Burisma executive told the confidential source that he didn't pay the big guy directly. So, a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff to go over, a lot of stuff to talk about. And again, if true, like, this is removal from office. This is treason. If true. But this needs to be thoroughly investigated, and they need to find the money. And there is some argument, too, with some of the cope that we see here. I know the Krappensteins, and we'll be reading that later, say that this is a source that's horribly unreliable, although the 1023 form is used exclusively for sources that are known to be reliable, according to Fox News. It's interesting to me, this part right here that we talked about earlier, because a lot of the cope that's happening right now, and by the way, this is being reported by an article that the leftoids will never read, because they think if they read this, they instantly become shunned by the Democratic establishment and have to go live under a bridge and be straight for the rest of their lives and not have an identity because they can't make their sexuality their identity anymore. That kind of thing. But some of the cope that's going on about this is these people saying that, oh, of course Hunter Biden should be able to go and be on the board. He's a Yale graduate, and he is uniquely qualified to be on a board of an energy company in a country whose language he doesn't even speak. Meanwhile, the executive in question, if we are to believe the source, considered the president's son to be a moron. Which, let's be fair, I do as well. So again, if true, this changes a lot of things going on here. We've got some other things that are going on with this here. Kyle Becker, breaking, there was a $5 million payment made to Biden, not Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the big guy, House Rep confirms bombshell FBI informant document showing $5 million bribery payment made to Joe Biden. Now, the way this is worded is important. Kyle Becker is not 100% right with this. Because the document itself, as far as what's been described to me so far, doesn't show the payment being made. You're still going to have to track financials and the money laundering to get to the bottom of where this money started, what shell corporations it went through, and how it got back to the president, then vice president, and what holdings it's currently sitting in right now. It doesn't show the $5 million bribery. It shows an idea of where to start looking, but it doesn't show the bribery. That's what we have a congressional investigation for. And Malinka says, so now we know 10% for the big guy means at least $5 million in this instance alone. People asking if this is treason. Accusations that Romney and Pelosi also have kids on the board of Burisma. That has not been confirmed, by the way. But a lot of stuff that we still have to go through with this before we can come back out and say, yes, it's time to remove the president, and this is actually what's going on. Marjorie Taylor Greene in the news. Mogwai, by the way, is probably going to give us some Marjorie Taylor Greene jokes on this one. Who is Marjorie Taylor Greene impeaching today, Mogwai? Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene on her personal Twitter account. This is a 5-minute clip, but we're going to get a majority of it here. She tweets out with the caption, I just read the FBI's FD 1023 form implicating Joe Biden in a political bribery pay-to-play scheme. Here's what the American people deserve to know. Let's listen.
Reading this form today shows the pure distinction. This information, this source that came forward, it's a paid informant by the FBI. This has nothing to do with Giuliani. This has nothing to do with the information that he brought forward in 2020. It's totally separate, and it's extremely credible because he's a paid informant. I made some notes after I left the SCIF based on the information, and I'll share that with you guys right now. Basically, what was happening there is back in 2015, 2016, Burisma was looking to buy a U.S.-based oil and gas company. And this came from being advised by Hunter Biden and his partners. Biden said Shokin was corrupt. That was around the time of this meeting, was when Joe Biden, as vice president, had said that the prosecutor Shokin was corrupt. They hired Hunter on the board to make the problems go away. That's what they specifically said. Hunter advised that they could raise more money if they bought a U.S. company. So the informant was trying to do the right thing and trying to advise Burisma that they shouldn't go this route. They should hire an attorney, work out their problems that they were being investigated for because they were having other legal problems. And that's why they were being investigated by this prosecutor Shokin. The informant was advising them, don't go this route. Why would you buy another U.S. company while you're under investigation? That's not a good idea. So he's trying to tell them to do the right thing. The owner of Burisma said that Hunter was stupid and that his other business partner was smart. He also said that he paid $5 million to one Biden and he paid $5 million to another Biden. And it was all a bribery to get Shokin fired and end the investigation into Burisma. He also told the informant this is common practice in Russia and Ukraine. It's common practice, it's part of business there, that's how their culture works, that they will pay bribery money in order to get business deals done. And that many businesses, they take that into account, they put it in their budget basically when they're preparing to buy another company or start another company, that's just normal. And so over in Ukraine, for them to consider hiring Hunter Biden on the board in order to make their problems go away, which was the prosecutor Shokin, who was investigating Burisma for corruption and legal problems. This was definitely illegal for a vice president of the United States and their family members. The informant had asked the owner of Burisma if he was happy that Trump won, and he said no, he was not happy. Remember, he had invested a lot of money into the Bidens to make his problems go away. But he did say that it would take 10 years for all of us to find out the payments made to the Bidens because of how many bank accounts there were. He said at the time there were no direct payments made to the big guy, but in a meeting later, after he had become more upset as things were unfolding, he told the informant that he has 2 pieces of evidence showing proof of payment to Hunter and specifically Joe Biden. You see, I think what everyone needs to understand is that business owners, at least the most smart ones, whether they're good or bad, whether they perform their business in a legal manner or a corrupt manner, they always keep records of their business payments, accounts and receivables. That's how it's done. And this owner of Burisma kept a record, especially of the bribes. And if you're in an industry where you have to pay bribes to get your business deals done, then you always want to keep a record and keep proof of your bribes, because that's how you make sure you get people to follow through on what they're done with.
That's absolutely right. We got some breaking news going on right now, you guys. We got to break in and see what's going on with this. So ABC News is reporting live via Twitter, by the way. Donald Trump has been indicted again.
Target of an ongoing investigation. That, of course, signaled that this could be coming. And on Tuesday, we will see what will amount to it. An unprecedented scene. Trump will be placed under arrest by the government who he was formerly elected to lead. Our team is reporting this story out for us tonight. I want to start out with our ABC News contributor and former GOP Congressman John Katko of New York. Thank you so much for joining us. First, let me just get your reaction to this news. A grand jury voting to indict the former president now for a second time.
It's really a historical event that's transpired here, and the charges are quite serious. Anyone who's ever dealt with classified documents like I have for over 30 years will tell you, when you mishandle classified documents, really bad things can happen. So the penalties in the law are very, very strict in that regard. And so this is a very serious development and something that should be taken very seriously by the former president.
Former President Trump has insisted all along that he's done nothing wrong, but these do seem to be very serious charges over his handling of classified documents. As a former congressman, what's your view on the issue of his handling of classified documents after he left the White House?
Well, I can tell you, I handled them for 20 years as a organized crime prosecutor before going to Congress, and then as head of the Homeland Security in Congress. I can tell you classified documents are very serious matters. They're handled in a very serious manner in secure settings and are never to leave those secure settings. So this is his handling of those documents on its face. I can tell you from a prosecutor's point of view, the fact that they found so many documents at his home and the way in which they found them clearly outside a classified setting in and of itself makes the case extremely strong against the president, the former president. So to me, this is he has a very big hill to climb to overcome these charges, because I'm not sure what his defense can be to that.
Politically, what kind of impact do you think that this case will have on the former president as he makes yet another bid for the White House?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question here, right? His base is his base. He'll take on the martyr complex, and he'll take on the feeling that, they're out to get me. But, your base is your base. But when they're starting to be presented with all this information and all this conduct, whether they agree with the methods of the charges or not, sooner or later they start making a value decision. And so this absolutely will not help him going forward. The question is whether it's going to hurt him. With his hardcore base, probably not. Those on the fringes of his base, it may impact that, and it could be.
And that's him coming out and saying that everybody who supports Trump is in a cult. Which we'll cover more of this tomorrow. I'm glad this popped up when we were able to come back and see some of this. I've got other reporting on this one here. Let me scroll back up just to get an idea, because this is partially what I predicted. Let's see. Let's grab one from the Elias rework. Again, this is breaking right now. The Elias rework, saying, basically quoting Dan Abrams at this point, indictment on at least 7 federal charges, including illegal retention of classified documents, obstruction, and conspiracy. So what we have here is 2 process crimes. I'd be interested to see what's going on with this and how you come back and prove that, because you can't present the documents in front of a jury, especially a jury of one's peers, because everybody who's going to be on that jury is going to have top secret clearance. So we will be covering more of this tomorrow, definitely, but I am glad that we took some time and broke into this. Oh, that's not the one that I wanted. I wanted this one over here. And we do have to go back and talk about the Bidens still, because right now we're going to be the only network that's still talking about the Bidens. Let's get rid of this. We will hang on to that for tomorrow. But going back to what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. And there was a lot that was going on with that. Definitely a lot that was going on there. Greene basically read through some of the selections that were also put into the Fox News article to go back and talk about what is happening with Biden and his son and the payments. Which, if this informant is confirmed, I mean, again, that's big news. And actually, oddly enough, one of the first comments in the ABC News tweet that we just watched that had the video that went with it is asking why ABC News won't cover the $5 million. They won't cover the investigation going on into Biden. And, I mean, there's a reason for that. There obviously is. Let's grab one from Newsweek, talking more about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Get the music back up. See what you guys are saying here. Mogwai says she sounds sane, or this was edited to make MTG sound sane. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an actress, keep in mind. So she can turn on or off the insanity as she goes. 80s Kid says, indict Trump with no evidence, look away from Biden with all the evidence. I've never known a single person that's been hounded more than Trump. It's okay for Brandon to have documents, and he wasn't even president. Still isn't. No, most popular president in history, actually. Mogra says, well, Trump just jumped 81 million votes. For them to go after him this hard is proof that some corruption is seriously happening here. It is interesting, by the way, that this happened on the exact same day that all of this, everything going on with Burisma thing happened. That's interesting timing. I'm not saying right now that it was planned to happen this way, but it's interesting that the day that we got information on this document, this FD 1023 form, is the day they decided to go forward with a federal indictment in a federal court in Miami. Mogwai says, CNN and MSDNC, worst crimes in the history of the Republic, Fox News. Trump indicted for jaywalking while taking homeless children to school. Silentcaster says he wishes he had the gizmo emote still. I could probably make a gizmo emote. Alright, but we gotta keep going. Got a lot to go over here and only 66 minutes left to do it. Alright, from Newsweek. Getting back into where we were before, Marjorie Taylor Greene outlines what's in the FBI's Biden bribery document from Fatma Khalid. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia outlined some points she took note of after reading the FBI document that the GOP-led House Oversight Committee believes could support their investigation against the Biden family into an alleged bribery scheme. Greene posted a video of herself in which she was briefing reporters about the information she read after the FBI allowed all committee members to view the subpoenaed document. According to Fox News, in May, the committee's chairman, Kentucky Republican Representative Jim Comer, tried to get the records from the FBI that he believes could reveal whether Biden allegedly received bribes from a foreign national in return for an influence on policy decisions when he served as president during the Obama admin. Comer is basing his allegations on information he received from an anonymous whistleblower. He issued a subpoena in May to the FBI seeking an unclassified FD 1023 document related to the alleged scheme. An FD 1023 form is generally a report about an informant that may involve someone speaking to the FBI about alleged crimes. Greene on Thursday spoke about the events that unfolded in 2015 and 2016, which involved the president's son Hunter, who served on the board of the Ukrainian oil and gas company Burisma. She said the document revealed Hunter Biden advised Burisma to raise money by buying a U.S. oil company, but a paid informant by the FBI advised the Ukrainian company against it. The informant reportedly advised Burisma to hire a lawyer who could help with the legal investigation launched against the company by former Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin, who President Biden and his allies helped to oust. Former President Trump and his allies previously accused Biden of pushing out Shokin because the Ukrainian prosecutor was investigating Burisma for legal problems, but that was not the real reason behind Biden's efforts. Biden wanted Shokin to be fired because he wasn't investigating corrupt Ukrainian politicians, according to the USA Today 2019 report. Interestingly enough, coming not at the time, but right before Biden was going to put his hat into the ring for election. Though Burisma was being investigated when Hunter was a board member, Shokin's former deputy, Vitaly Kosko, said this probe was enacted during the time which Biden called for Shokin's ouster, according to CNN, because they were probably trying to save face. So again, big if true, it's something we've got to keep watching to see what happens with this. Biden getting his 2 cents in on this one from the USA Today. That's a bunch of malarkey. I have not, but I will after the show. The last couple nights I've got off Contemporary. Like Wednesday night, I got off Contemporary and went straight to bed. I didn't even eat dinner Wednesday night. No, yesterday was Wednesday night. That was Tuesday night. I was so whipped and beat from work. I just got done with Contemporary and I just to bed. Yesterday I made taco meat and ate that. I ate a taco salad and again straight off to bed. But yeah, I've got leftovers tonight, so I don't have to jump up and start cooking right away. So yes, I will do that tonight. Absolutely. Let's see. This is from Maureen Groppe. President Biden dismissed as malarkey a House GOP accusation that he was involved in a multi-million-dollar bribery scheme on Thursday. Where's the money, man? Biden said in response to a shouted question from a reporter after his news conference with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. I'm joking, that's a bunch of malarkey. The question came after members of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee had their first chance on Thursday to review an FBI investigative document. Biden has a brief moment of kind of clarity with this. And it's what I talked about in the beginning when we were first reviewing the contents of the document in the Fox News article. We've got a lead into where to start looking, but House Oversight and investigative committees have a buttload of work to do at this point to try to figure out what companies that money got transferred through and how. They've got a lot of work ahead of them at this point to figure out where that $5 million went, if it actually existed. I'd like to believe it existed. But I do need more proof than just what that document says, coming from an unnamed informant at the time. And I think that we will find out that it exists. I do. But in order for us to do that, again, Jim Comer and his people have a butt ton of work to do. A lot of work to do. The document, which contains information from a confidential source, including some of it that is unverified, because the USA Today has to editorialize, alleges that Biden was involved in a $5 million bribery scheme, according to Jim Comer, head of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. Jamie Raskin said the allegations were debunked. I'm gonna debunk! The allegations were debunked during a 2020 review by the Justice Department during the Trump admin. House Republicans say they're investigating possible influence peddling based on payments from foreigners in Romania and China to 9 of Biden's relatives and their business associates, but without evidence of direct payments to Biden or changes in national policy. After Comer threatened to initiate contempt proceedings against the FBI for the first time in history, unless the agency provided the document, all members of the committee were allowed to review it. And that's where we're going to stop here, because I've got this one covered in another article down the stack a little bit. But Biden's just coming on, it's malarkey, man, come on. We're going to talk about the cope for just a second. Ed Krasenstein, who is literally, if you're on Twitter, is completely and utterly spammed into everybody's feeds. Absolutely spammed, whether you follow him or not. By the way, you can see, no follow, but he's there every day, 7 to 10 times a day. Silentcaster says, Mogg published a document that it received $75 from unknown sources. Twitch published a document that said I received approximately $300 from unnamed sources. Mogwa says, next kitten I get will be named after the AP's favorite person, unnamed source. I love the live chat here. It's great. We should get some more people over on the Rumble side to actually chat when they're popping in. Because I imagine those comments will be even spicier. And by the way, you Rumble people over there, you have a challenge as to how spicy you can get these comments, because Mogwai and Silentcaster together give a lot of spice already. And they do it within the confines of the TOS of Twitch. Alright, Ed Krasenstein. Breaking! The bribery allegations that Comer and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Republicans have been touting are concerning Burisma. While Republicans are making the claim that allegations are 100% prove that Biden committed bribery, let's take a step back and evaluate where this information is coming from. The FD 1023 form simply recorded what a confidential human source told the FBI about the alleged conversations they had with people in the Ukraine. The human source is highly credible. And he put that in quotes because he wants his little simp followers to believe that this is actually not a credible source. But this source also told the FBI he couldn't provide any information on how credible the information that these Ukrainians gave him was. Well, he was firsthand in the conversation, so do keep that in mind. So essentially, the individuals may be pro-Russian oligarchs. Again, this is cope. This is him trying to poison the well. Anti-American Ukrainians, or anyone else who has visited or lived in Ukraine. It is a report by a credible source of information that came from a source with unknown credibility. The original source doesn't appear to be an American, and the allegations definitely were not provided under oath through any means that would hold them responsible for blatantly lying. This is far from credible and definitely not proof, like Lauren Boebert and others have claimed. You are partially right, at Krasenstein. Now again, Number one, the FD 1023 form is used only for sources that have a long-standing relationship with the FBI. This isn't just some janitor that came in and said, "Hey, are you FBI agent? Are you good American? I have information that could lead to arrest of Hillary Clinton." This is somebody who was directly involved with the conversation. And if they could unredact the name, we would pretty much have the proof of that, but that person would also get Clinton cited. I'm a little bit surprised that he hasn't already. And the rest of it is, again, it's poisoning the well. Oh, this could be a pro-Russian. Did you want to support Russia? The GOP supports Russia. And all the bullshit that they come back out with this. So, these are not, again, this document that they're seeing is not proof. And I said that right from the beginning. The document is not proof positive. It is given a roadmap to Jim Comer to go back and try to figure out where the proof is to make it proof positive and to levy a charge if such a charge can be levied at this point. So he's partially right on the fact that it's not proof, but it's more credible than he wants to make it off to seem to be. Because he wants to arm his little army of simps to come back out there and run there and say, "Haha, it's not credible. Stupid Republicans." Some more cope coming off of NBC. House Republicans attack Biden and his family after viewing FBI document. From Kyle Stewart, Katie Santaliz, and Rebecca Shabad. House Republicans on Thursday doubled down on their attacks against President Biden and his family after viewing a document behind closed doors that remains a secret. Republicans on the House Oversight Committee emerged from a secure room on Capitol Hill, known as a SCIF, after viewing the FD 1023 form brought in by the FBI, and continued to accuse Biden and his family members of bribery and corruption. As part of the investigation, Republican lawmakers have repeatedly released financial documents that failed to prove any of these accusations. Wow. I can talk. Good God. The FBI and a prosecutor reviewed the allegation when it was made in 2020, a senior law enforcement official said last week. The bribery allegation, however, wasn't substantiated, the official said. Previous descriptions of the document by Republicans said it was reportedly contains an unverified allegation from a human source that said Biden, when he was vice president, was involved in a bribery scheme involving a foreign national. House Republicans on Thursday called the allegation credible and legitimate. Byron Donalds and Andy Biggs claimed that the human source has been a paid FBI informant for several years. Rep. Anna Luna of Florida said Biden is 100% guilty of bribery. Not quite. You're close, but not quite. Democratic members of the committee also viewed the document on Thursday, but none opted to make public statements afterwards. In a statement on Wednesday, Raskin said the FBI team that briefed him and Comer on Monday said the Department of Justice team of prosecutors and FBI agents under U.S. Attorney Scott Brady determined that there were no grounds to escalate their probe from an initial assessment of the allegations surfaced by Rudy Giuliani to a preliminary or full-blown investigation, and that it was therefore closed down. Which, given the fact that they were in power in Congress, gave them the authority to do so. So we do have that going. AG Barr weighing in on this one, by the way. From the New York Post, former AG Bill Barr rips confused Rep. Jamie Raskin over scope of the Biden probe. From Josh Christensen. Silentcaster says, as spicy as he gets his penis. And Mogwai says, stop telling us your dinner plans. Oof. See? This is what you have to look forward to. This is what you have to beat over on the Rumble side, where there are no chat restrictions. 80s Kid says, Luna's saying some serious stuff at the moment. I think she needs to go public and say she is not depressed and is not planning to take her own life. 80s Kid, if you're in the Discord, which I can, if you're not, I can link the invite to it. Can you link that to me in the Discord? Please, pretty please. It's in the description also, by the way, the video description. Former AG Bill Barr has again disputed repeated claims by House Oversight Committee ranking member Jamie Raskin that the DOJ closed down an investigation into an alleged $5 million bribery scheme involving then Vice President Joe Biden. Well, look, Mr. Raskin seems confused about the limited scope of Mr. Brady's review, Barr told the Post Thursday, referring to the former U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Well, look, the Pittsburgh office was simply adding evidence to ensure that it was not disinformation before passing it on to one of the already existing investigations underway in the department, Barr added. Brady was not authorized to open his own investigation. In other words, he was assessing the credibility of the evidence, not investigating its ultimate merits, the former AG added, noting the information gathered by Brady was sent along to Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss. That's why the evidence was passed on to Delaware. Nothing was closed. A spokeswoman for Raskin directed the Post to the ranking member's past statements when reached for comment. So, Bill Barr throwing shade. I never quite know where Bill Barr is going to stand. He's very unipartyist, which Trump was warned about when Bill was appointed as AG, but he does seem to be willing to come back out and correct the record, even when a unipartyist is the one that's making the record. I would call Bill Barr neutral to neutral evil. Neutral evil to the point of unipartyist, and, you know, he could be evil as a unipartyist, but he does tend to try to stay to the objective side to it as much as he can. So is Bill Barr going to reprise his role of Norm in the new Frasier show? '80s Kids, I'm subscribed to Liberal Hive Mind. He uploaded a video earlier. He's shown a video of her talking about Biden. Well, we'll see what goes on with it. I'll go looking for some of that too. Luna wasn't completely on my radar when I started researching for this. And perhaps the last thing we're going to talk about, for sure the last thing we're going to talk about on this, but perhaps the most based take about this, the take I approve of the most about this, from Fox News. Public should see FBI secret doc on alleged Biden bribe scheme, lawmaker says. Damning evidence. From Brianna Herlihy, a GOP lawmaker on the House Oversight and Accountability Committee who reviewed the subpoenaed FBI document that alleges President Biden was involved in a criminal bribery scheme, said the allegations in the document are worse than has been reported so far. Nancy Mace of South Carolina, hey, that's one of Mogwai's people, told Fox Digital after her review of the FD 1023 document, which the FBI on Thursday allowed the full committee to review, that there's damning evidence the sitting president of the U.S. sold out his country in an ongoing bribery scheme. The American people and the media deserve to see the evidence. We should follow the facts, she said. And then they go back into a review of what happened and how we got here from the beginning. Yes, Nancy Mace, I agree with that entirely. 100%. And that's been something that I've been saying since the beginning of this. Again, and it goes down the same avenue of what I said about the documents, the classified documents. And I get such angry replies on Twitter when I ask, okay, what's in the documents? You make this big deal about the documents. You make this massive case about how damning the documents are, what they're going to do, and what they did to national security. Okay, show me the documents. Because you, person who's arguing that these documents mean that the president should be in prison already, you seem to know exactly what's in the documents. Which tells me you've seen them, so show them to me. And I will, by the way, again, with people who have directly read the documents still coming back and putting their human spin on it. They're human. Even if I agree with some of them, they're human. They're going to spin these documents the way that they want to see them. I need to see the direct source material for myself. And the rest of the country needs to see the direct source material for themselves, too. And yes, we deserve to see this. This is the person who is making policy decisions for 330 million people in this country. If there is information like this out there, the American people deserve to see it. 100%. Absolutely. This is something that could affect how people vote, which is part of the reason that they want to keep it semi-classified. So yes, throw the sheets back. Let's see it. Will we see it though? Probably not. Alright. That's all that I have on the Biden document. A lot of stuff there. What did we go? I think we were like, 15 minutes in when we started because we had to talk about Pat Robertson. So we've done well, I guess I can't say that we did an hour on that either because we had to break news and talk about the Donald. We had to break into breaking news, you guys. Alright. Let's go talk about Alabama with the little time we have left. We're going to cut a little bit early from the main news part of things, because we've got a bunch of things I like and things I hate today. Everything after the restream icon over here, by the way, that shows my face when you open it back up, that's all things I like and things that I hate. So we got a bunch to go over at the end of the show. From NBC News, Supreme Court backs landmark voting rights law, strikes down Alabama congressional map. From Lawrence Hurley. The Supreme Court on Thursday struck down Republican-drawn congressional districts in Alabama that civil rights activists say discriminated against black voters in a surprise reaffirmation of the landmark Voting Rights Act. The court, in a 5-4, ruled against Alabama, meaning the map of the 7 congressional districts, which heavily favors Republicans, will now be redrawn. John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh, both conservatives, joined the court's 3 liberals in the majority. In doing so, the court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, turned away the state's efforts to make it harder to remedy concerns raised by civil rights advocates that the power of black voters in states like Alabama is being diluted by dividing voters into districts where white voters dominate. In the ruling, Roberts, writing for the majority, said the lower court had correctly concluded that the congressional map violated the voting rights law. In 2013, Roberts authored a ruling that gutted a separate important provision of the Voting Rights Act, which has long argued that various government efforts to address historic racial discrimination are problematic and may exacerbate the situation. He wrote Thursday's ruling that there are genuine fears the Voting Rights Act may impermissibly elevate race in the allocation of political power, and that the Alabama ruling does not diminish or disregard those concerns. The court instead simply holds that a faithful application of our precedents and a fair reading of the record before us do not bear them out here, Roberts added. As such, the court left open future challenges to the law, which Kavanaugh, writing in a separate opinion that his vote did not rule out challenges to Section 2, based on whether there's a time at which the 1965's law authorization of the consideration of race in redistricting is no longer justified. Civil rights groups and their supporters, including President Biden, reveled in a largely unexpected victory. Today's decision confirms The basic principle that voting practices should not discriminate on account of race, man. The help needs to vote for me too, man. Come on. The help loves me. Look at South Carolina. But our work is not done, Biden said in a statement. He renewed calls for Congress to enact new voting rights legislation. So, here's my 2 cents on this. I would have first off said the same thing. A lot of people who watch this from the left are not going to believe me. In fact, they're going to tell me that I'm a right-wing extremist because many of them tell me that already. And that I would love a Supreme Court to dilute the power and make sure that black folk can't vote. I would have said the same thing if the Supreme Court had struck down the rulings and said the Alabama legislature could do whatever they want. Now, for them to strike down the ruling would have been closer in line to what I believe, that the state legislature draws the districts. Plain and simple, and if you want to draw the districts, you win at the state level. Because that's what I've always believed. But also the other side of the fact is that the locality in the federal court, I don't think the federal court should have been involved either. But that was at least a little bit closer to the situation. This should have stayed in the Alabama Supreme Court. And it should have never risen above the Alabama Supreme Court. Plain and simple. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution says that the states, in a timely manner, set and regulate their elections. And only the states have a say in how their elections are run. That includes districting, and that includes voter laws. With Biden coming back and saying that Congress needs to make a new Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act has no place, per the Constitution, in our American society. I do agree with a lot of things that are in the Voting Rights Act, but that doesn't change the fact that it flies in the face of Article 2, Section 1. And no, this is a case that should have never made it to the Supreme Court. Now, the other end of this is that John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh both sided on the wrong side of this case, in my opinion, but sided on the case to uphold this and make Alabama go back and redraw their districts. And the question has been raised over and over again today if the liberals are allowed to like Brett Kavanaugh again. And honestly, I've been scouring MSDNC and Twitter and various other more left-wing Discord groups that I'm in. And as far as I can tell, no, MSNBC hasn't told them if they can like Brett Kavanaugh yet. They have to wait until Rachel Maddow tells them that they can like Brett Kavanaugh. So that is what's happening in Alabama right now. Gavin Newsom made news today. Let me get the live chat back up here. I don't know why I jumped off the live chat for a second, but let me get it back up here. 80s Kid says, wonders if Brandon is a map. Well, none of the rest of us wonder that. We all know. Alright, let's talk Gavin Newsom. Gruesome Newsom, they say. Gavin Newsom wants 28th Amendment for guns in U.S. Constitution. And we will take it right from the words of the man himself, which he put out with a video. Let's listen to the video first, and then we'll read the tweet that goes with it. I like that order of operations. California Governor Gavin Newsom. Let's listen.
Every time, it's the same. They tell us we can't stop these massacres. They tell us we have to stand.
You would solve your energy crisis in a second if you would let the power plants burn all that hair gel. Just saying.
By and watch tragedy after tragedy unfold in our communities. They say we can't stop domestic terrorism without violating the Second Amendment, and that thoughts and prayers are the best we can do. I'm here to say that's a lie. In this country, we do have the power to change things, to reclaim our freedom from fear. Our ability to make a more perfect union is literally written into the Constitution. So today, I'm proposing the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution to do just that. The 28th Amendment permanently enshrines 4 additions to the laws of our land. It raises the minimum age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21. Because if you can't buy a beer, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun.
Well, let's face it, you're in the age of majority at the age of 18, so you should be able to buy a beer at 18. You're in the age of majority and the age of militia at 18, so you should be able to buy a firearm and a beer. But you're not ready for that conversation.
It mandates universal background checks to prevent truly dangerous people from purchasing a gun that can be used in a crime. It institutes reasonable waiting periods for all gun purchases. And it...
What is a reasonable waiting period? Woman in a domestic violence situation. This is the one that I go back to because this is the one that typically they look at and they say, hey, we support all women. Okay, woman is in a domestic violence situation. Goes out and decides she needs to have a firearm to protect herself. Because her soon-to-be ex-boyfriend is 6'6" and jacked, and she is 5'2" and meek and scared, and he's been hitting her around the house for the last 6 weeks. She goes into the gun store and says, "I fear for my life." Passes the background check, and the gun store says, "Oh, well, we're sorry, miss, but you've got to wait for 72 hours. So we'll call that a reasonable waiting period." So she finds a hotel and hides out, and 27 hours later, jacked 6'6" ex-boyfriend, soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, walks in, busts down the door, and cracks her skull open. Now, that could have happened even if she had the firearm, but with the armament, she would have had the chance to go back and fight back. Attempt to take him with her, per se.
Bans civilians from buying assault rifles. Those weapons of war our founding fathers never foresaw.
I mean, we can go for hours on just talking about what our founding fathers foresaw.
This will guarantee states as well the ability to enact common sense gun safety laws while leaving the Second Amendment intact and respecting America's gun-owning tradition.
So all 4 of those things completely undermine the Second Amendment. So there's no possible way for them to leave the Second Amendment intact.
The 28th locks in the common sense constitutional protections that Democrats, Republicans, independents, and gun owners overwhelmingly support. And it ensures NRA-owned politicians can never strip those protections away. This fight won't be easy, and it certainly won't be fast. Convening a constitutional convention requires 2/3 of the states to call for this. California will be the first, but that's just the beginning.
California will be the first and New York will be the last.
Join us by going to campaignfordemocracy.com and signing
campaignforhegemony.com.
the petition. To protect our communities and protect our freedom, support the 28th.
Abolish the 17th. Where to begin? Where to begin? Where to begin? We'll read from NBC. Bay Area, California governor launches campaign for gun control amendment to the U.S. Constitution. From Stephen Ellison. Gavin Newsom is taking matters into his own hands when it comes to gun control. Newsom on Thursday launched a historic campaign proposing a 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution in an effort to sidestep Washington's gridlock and enshrine fundamental gun safety freedoms. Among other elements, the 28th Amendment would raise the minimum age for buying guns, mandate universal background checks, and ban assault rifles. The gun lobby says, "We can't stop the carnage, brah. Now experiences every day without violating the Second Amendment, brah. The thought and some prayers is the best we can do. That's a lie," Newsom said in a release. "In this country, we do have the power to change things, brah. That power is written into the Constitution, and today we're using it to end America's gun violence crisis." I don't know why in my voice Gavin Newsom has a surfer accent, but it just makes it more entertaining. It does. The 28th would ensure NRA-owned politicians never pass laws that strip away fundamental freedoms to live life without fear of gun violence, according to the campaign release. So, this is dead on arrival, by the way. And, by the way, Newsom is doing this. He's trying to do what the right wing is doing with the Convention of States to mandate certain things under the Constitution that need to be mandated there. But he's trying to do so in a position where he can't get 2/3 of states on. I don't know where he plans to go and do this with, but there aren't 2/3 of states that will get on board with this. This is DOA. But this also, by the way, gives an idea of what it is that he plans to do if he does run for higher office, and why his political position is untenable to the remainder of America, why he can't be president. Alright, what else do we have here today? Shot Chaser. Are you ready for Shot Chaser? We actually might get close to done. We got 10 more minutes before I said because we're gonna start at 1:40, an hour 40, and we've got 10 more minutes before that. So, Biden admin to appoint anti-book ban coordinator as part of a new LGBTQIRAMIGIXTBYAEIOU sometimes Y protections. From Bo Erickson. Several new protections for LGBTQIRAMEIGIXTBYEIEIO students and families were unveiled on Thursday by the Biden admin, including establishing a coordinator to lead the charge against banning books in schools, admin officials say. Let's see, how does that go? Oh, it won't give me closed captions.
Make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
Have first setting?
Yeah, they're coming for your kids, guys. The yet-to-be-named Education Department coordinator will train school districts and advise them that banning books may violate federal civil laws if they create a hostile environment for students. Oh my God. Said White House Domestic Policy Advisor Neera Tanden. Almost 1,500 instances of book bannings in schools affecting 874 different titles in the first half of the school year, according to PEN America's Index of School Book Bans, representing nearly 30% increase over the previous school year. More than a quarter of the banned books have LGBTQIRAMIGIXTBYAEIOU sometimes Y characters or themes, according to PEN. The states that have implemented the greatest number of books bans this year are Texas, Florida, Missouri, Utah, and California. They're coming for your kids, guys. Book banning erodes our democracy, removes vital resources for students' learning, and can contribute to the stigma and isolation that many communities face, Tanden said. Well, the books that go on to the list have to be voted on, so it actually is quite democratic. But again, you're not really ready for that conversation. A new joint effort by the DHS and the Justice Department to train LGBTQIRAMIGIXTBYEIEIO centers to deal with the threats of violence, including shooting and bomb threats, along with cyber attacks, was also announced by admin officials last month. DHS noted the U.S. heightened threat environment and said LGBTQIRAMIGIXTBYEIOU, sometimes Y individuals, and events are likely targets of potential violence. By the way, bookmark it right now. We have a false flag on a pride parade before the end of this month. Bet me. Because they are going all in on this. DHS said some might be inspired to commit violence by factors, including their perceptions of the 2024 general election cycle and legislative or judicial decisions pertaining to socio-political issues. They are going to do a false flag at a pride parade. And I am waiting for it. So, that's happening. Here's your chaser, by the way. High school teacher on leave after video surfaces of her telling anatomy students where the sex toys are located at Target. Details about prostate-related sexual pleasure. From Dave Urbanski. A California high school teacher has been placed on leave after a video surfaced of her telling anatomy students where sex toys are located at Target, as well as about prostate-related sexual pleasure. The El Dorado high school teacher was placed on admin leave following backlash from parents over a video taken in her Nat and Phys class. A spokesperson for the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District told the Orange County Register. A district spokesperson identified the physiology and AP environmental science teacher in question as Judy Rehberg, the paper said. The secretly recorded video has been shared on social media. Let's watch.
Is where the prostate is. So you don't have to go inside the booty hole. You can actually just push on the seam, and that stimulates the prostate gland as well. And that they apparently really like that. But yeah, so that's why for male and male, anal sex is still very pleasurable because of the fact that it hits the prostate, and there's a lot of nerve endings in your booty as well. So the girls, the G-spot, prostate, they're the equivalent to each other, but apparently that's why if you ever see Target has them now. Sex toys. If you go to Target, seriously, if you go to Target and go where the tampons and pads are, they just look like a little box, but if you open up, there's like a Velcro front to the box, you open it up, and then bam, sex toy. And you'll see them. CVS, yes, CVS has them too, a lot of them. And so that's why when you look at the toys, a lot of them look like this. And the reason because is for finding that spot.
What were we just talking about?
Go, warn about San Francisco. Make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
They're coming for your children, folks. All right, let's do some DeSantis news. And this will be our last one. No, we're actually I'm going to jump. We're going to leave the DeSantis news for tomorrow because that's the last thing we have. I got a couple articles I want to get to, and we are at 1:40 right now. So we're going to finish out the show with things that I like and things that I hate tonight. Because it's Thursday, and that's how we finish the show. Let's get the live chat up. Let's see what you guys are doing. Let's get the music back up, too. Not the music we had on just a second ago. All right. Things I like and things that I hate today. Things that I like, number one. I read this, or I listened to this rather, before we got started. Tucker is back. I am still not a fan of Tucker Carlson. That is not going to change. Easily. I'm going to see how he goes for a little while without being backed by Fox News, the controlled opposition network. And I want to see what it is that they have to say, but I'll tell you right off the bat, Mehdi Hassan is threatened by him. There was a big campaign off of this to try to come back out and say that, oh, look at him, he's controlling his own teleprompter. This isn't a professional production. It's actually pretty professional. They've done it pretty well. I'm kind of impressed on how they did this. His first episode was 10 minutes, so he's not doing the full 45, and he's not coming back out and being interrupted by advertisements for pocket catheters and birch gold and things like that. So it's pretty raw, it's down to the point. And he has racked up 107.4 million views on this. Now, this is a few days old, keep in mind. But he has racked up almost, over 100 million views at this point. So we're going to do probably a couple minutes of this, listen to him starting out. If you want the full thing, I think everybody's seen it so far. It is at Tucker Carlson, who I am now following.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. This morning it looks like somebody blew up the Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine. The rushing wall of water wiped out entire villages, destroyed a critical hydropower plant, and as of tonight puts the largest nuclear reactor in Europe in danger of melting down. So if this was intentional, it was not a military tactic, it was an act of terrorism. The question is, who did it? Well, let's see. The Kakhovka Dam was effectively Russian. It was built by the Russian government. It currently sits in Russian-controlled territory. The dam's reservoir supplies water to Crimea, which has been, for the last 240 years, home of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Blowing up the dam may be bad for Ukraine, but it hurts Russia more. And for precisely that reason, the Ukrainian government has considered destroying it. In December, the Washington Post quoted a Ukrainian general saying his men had fired American-made rockets at the dam's floodgate as a test strike. So really, once the facts start coming in, it becomes...
So we're going to leave it at that for right now, because we do have other things I like and things that I hate to go over. And I do feel like I was probably one of the last ones involved in the 12 people that are watching right now to have seen this. Well, with Tucker, what he's doing with this and what he's talking about with this, one of the important aspects to that is the fact that Tucker is pointing out that this could have very easily been damage from continued shelling, that this might not have been an actual attack that happened on the dam. And number two is something else that I pointed out before I even listened to this, is that neither side has a strategic advantage to blowing this up. This could be natural, this could be stress from previous attacks, but this does not necessarily mean that either Ukraine or Russia or the US went in with C4 and blew the shit out of this dam right now. He is pulling a much more moderate line than he did before, at least in this episode. So we will see if he stays down with it or if he goes down the path of Fox News again, doing Fox News' bidding. I don't know where this is going to go. Again, I could be sold on Tucker Carlson, but I'm not sold on him yet. We'll see what happens. Other things that I like today. Fox News reporting this is an op-ed from Fox News from Michael Watson. The opinions expressed in this article are the opinions of Michael Watson, not necessarily the opinions of Fox News, Contemporary, Turns Pages Productions, or your host, J. Edgar. Conservative Bud Light strategy takes down leftists with their own rules. From Michael Watson. The Bud Light boycott is a prime example of the right finally taking some cues from the radicalism of the left and using those tactics to win. It's about time. Since at least the mid-2000s, conservatives, especially social conservatives, have been utterly befuddled on how to approach increasingly socially liberal businesses. Woke capitalism, driven by a combination of consortium of left-wing nonprofits, ESG investing, and professional class ideological dynamics, has driven a wedge between conservatives and their longtime allies in business. Sometimes this alienation manifests in self-destructive policy proposals that would empower organized labor, a result conservatives of the past would reject. Some conservative circles insist unions would protect workers from management's woke fads. This is an illusion. Big labor funds the liberal nonprofit institutional complex. True. Helped invent contemporary ESG investing and marches in lockstep with the most fervently woke professional class ideological dynamics. With classical three bigs of big labor, big government, and big business arrayed against them, no wonder other conservatives speak wholly united left-wing regime. But a funny thing happened. On the way to the regime, Bud Light lost nearly a third of its market share after doing what the regime wanted. The brand partnered with transgender TikTok influencer Dylan Mulvaney, and its now benched marketing lead Alyssa Heinerscheid vowed to end her predecessor's fratty, kind of out-of-touch humor in favor of a younger, woker campaign that's truly inclusive. And then splat, the keg ran dry. Conservatives boycotted, ordinary people joined in, and made Bud Light a punchline. And now Anheuser-Busch almost literally gives Bud Light away. Bud's rivals gained market share to the point that the consumer shift is now putting strain on the beer supply chain. How did it happen? Simple. Conservatives applied the Alinsky rules favored by the left. Even if they haven't read him and didn't know that's what they were doing. Alinsky, a radical left organizer favored by 60s boomer counterculture agitators, famously wrote, as one of his rules for radicals, pick a target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. What I like about this, and what's amazing about this, is the fact that the right and the independents got together because the left and the woke was pushing too hard against Bud Light. And they stopped it in its tracks to the point, as was pointed out, they're literally buying back beer and giving it away in some areas, in some markets. It's still being bought in some markets. I still occasionally see people drinking a Bud Light at this point, but it's fewer and farther between at this point. But they froze the market cap without a single brick being thrown, without a single chanting protest. They just stopped buying. But they organized together and stopped buying. No store owners lost market cap. No store owners lost windows. No one was threatened. They just stopped buying. And it was actually going that direction with Target too, but there were some agitators out there who decided that they needed to be threatening, and I think that some of them did some work with the left at some point to get their point out there, but Target was going down the same road. Kohl's is starting to go down the same road. They had talked about conservative parents coming in and threatening Target employees, but it never mysteriously got on the video until it was a specific provocateur on the right. And again, they did all of this without throwing a single brick. And I like that. I love that. And a little bit of taking the market back. We'll go briefly over this one from The Blaze. Founders of popular North Carolina brewery buy brand back from Anheuser-Busch. Autonomy to do what's right. Yes! From Chris Enlow. The founders of a popular North Carolina brewery announced that they bought back their brand from Anheuser-Busch InBev. As Anheuser-Busch remains embroiled in the controversy for partnering with transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney, Appalachian Mountain Brewery founders Nathan Kelishek and Chris Zieber decided now is the right time to purchase their brand back from Anheuser-Busch. In 2014, AMB partnered with Craft Brew Alliance to help increase production and expand distribution of AMB beers. The Boone-based brewery explained in a statement, AMB then entered the Anheuser-Busch's portfolio when the alcohol conglomerate purchased the Craft Brew Alliance. Several years before the acquisition, the CBA had fully acquired AMB. In a statement, Kalashek and Zieber did not cite the ongoing boycott of Bud Light as the genesis of their decision, but mentioned the corporate red tape that comes with being part of a large community like Anheuser-Busch. So it's not entirely because of Dylan Mulvaney, but I think that was probably the push that got them to the end and said, hey, we're not doing this anymore. So, good on them. You built the brand. It's yours and you should keep it. From Just the News, Texas governor says he wants to eliminate property taxes. Based. No author given from the Center Square. Greg Abbott says his goal is to eliminate homeowners' property taxes in the state of Texas. He says it's possible to achieve over time because of the significant economic growth of the state. All three Republican leaders, Abbott, Dan Patrick, and Speaker Dave Phelan, have pledged to reduce property taxes and make it a legislative priority. They have all also agreed to dedicate roughly half of the $33 billion surplus, $17 billion to provide property tax relief. The money's already appropriated, Abbott said. Now we just need to decide how we're going to cut those property taxes. This is a great problem to have, he notes, when other states like California are running double-digit deficits. However, the leaders weren't able to reach an agreement with the regular session coming to a close on May 29th. Abbott called a special legislative session to first address property tax relief. I'm in favor of changing and eliminating taxes as much as possible. One slight concern that I do have with this, and the desire to eliminate taxes in and of itself, overshadows a lot of this, but one thing that I do have a slight concern about this is that property taxes on a locality level, on a municipal level, do take care of things that people who aren't as self-sufficient do rely on. So it's not just the state property tax, but there's also the municipality property taxes as well that take care of things like, yes, those evil roads and your fire department and things like that. If there was a way for Abbott to come back out and eliminate that without having a shock to the system of a lot of these municipalities, especially the more liberal ones like Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, El Paso, etc., I would be all in and say, sign the documentation, get rid of the property tax. I do need to figure out and see what it is that the municipalities do, but I'm completely in favor of generally eliminating more taxes. So this is based. And I do hope the municipalities can reach an agreement with the capital, and we can see some actual property tax relief for some of these people. Hell, I might move to Texas for that. I don't know if I could or not because of the temperature difference and the fact that they don't get a winter like we do up here, but I mean, to have no property tax, come on. What else do we like? What else do I like? WKRN.com. Attorney, children of Covenant School to be given legal ownership of the shooter's writings, which means there's a good chance that we might actually see these at some point. From Sierra Rains. The debate over whether the Covenant School shooter's writings should be released to the public continued Thursday during a court hearing. Attorneys arguing for and against the release of the writings spent hours debating whether the court should proceed after a motion to stay was filed by petitioning parties, including the City of Nashville, and attorneys for the Covenant School, Covenant Church, and Covenant Parents. A motion to stay is a legal request asking the court to temporarily halt or suspend a portion or entirety of a legal proceeding. The judge and some attorneys noted that there's little existing case law or precedent to refer back to in order to make a decision in this case. Amid the arguments, the shooter's family attorney, David Rabin, made an announcement regarding the legal ownership of 28-year-old Audrey Hale's writings. The shooter's family is in the process of giving legal ownership of the documents seized from the Brightwood Avenue home and the shooter's car, including Hale's so-called manifesto, to the children of the Covenant School, according to Rabin. Rabin said the paperwork will be completed next week. However, the Metro Nashville Police Department still has possession of the documents, and the court will ultimately rule on whether the writings should be released to the public. It's unclear what other impacts this may have, and they still try to put the fear porn out there, but the ownership is being transferred, which means the parents of the children of the school can come back to the police department and say, hey, hand it over, that's ours. And I do think that if the parents get their hands on this, we are going to see these documents. We're going to see the manifesto. That's the dream. I don't know if it's going to come true or not, but that's the dream right there, to see the manifesto. Something that would normally not be a thing that I like, usually a thing that I hate. But the way that this particular actress went about it, I do kind of like. Alicia Silverstone lauds RFK Jr. and says she ditched Democratic registration and switched to independent last year. From Alex Nitzberg. Alicia Silverstone issued an Instagram post in which she praised RFK Jr. and noted that last year she had ditched her Democratic registration and switched to independent. Like, as if last year I canceled my Democratic Party registration and registered as an independent voter. Like so many others, I'm deeply disappointed with political leadership at every turn. The division, the lies, the profiteering, and the expense of the people and public health. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr., man, he gives me hope. Like, this man gets me excited about the potential for truth and justice. He provides hope for the young and old to trust that our government once again. RFK Jr. is the person we can be inspired and be proud to call president. Now, why do I like this? Versus why I hated this when Paramore did this. Well, a couple things. Now, number one, this happened last year, which means that up until this moment, Alicia Silverstone had changed her registration in private. She wasn't going down to her fan base and saying, I'm doing this, praise me, love me, and do the exact same thing that I do. But the other thing that I really like about this is the fact that there was, just like I said, no drive, no push, no urging to try to get people to do the same. Haley Williams saying, if you vote for Ron DeSantis, you're fucking dead to me, was her putting her fingers on the scale. Now, with Silverstone, yes, no matter what, because she is famous, a celebrity, and, well, was a crush to a lot of us when we were kids. Present company included, by the way. There are people who, to gain her love, are going to come back out and say, I want to be an independent and go for RFK Jr. just like Alicia Silverstone does, because maybe she'll like me then. But for the most part, she's not pushing her fans to go back and do what she does, like liberal celebrities do. Jodie Sweetin, Haley Williams from Paramore, a lot of the movie cast out there, they will go out there and say, yeah, don't even buy my stuff if you don't vote the way that I like you to. And I'm sure Silverstone would like it if a lot of people went out there and voted the same way that she did. But she seems to be, so far, telling her fans, yeah, you can still watch Clueless if you voted a different way than I do. And I like that. That's the thing that I like about this. I would rather not know the politics of my favorite celebrities. But I understand they're human and they're going to have opinions about these kinds of things. And they are going to want to share them. I sit here and share my opinion on this kind of stuff. It would be horrendous of me to go back and fault them for it. But largely, as a person who's not going to vote on the presidential ticket this year, I understand that a lot of you are going to vote for Trump. And a few of you are also going to vote for DeSantis. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you not to vote. I'm giving the information. I'm telling you why I'm not going to vote. But you all have different life stories and life experiences that are going to shape your decisions. Plain and simple. And the last one, this one's kind of in the middle for me, so I'm going to call this a thing I like / thing that I hate, because this could really go either way for me. Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf shares major update with fans about his conversion to Catholicism. From Kate Jerkovich. The reason that I'm on the fence, straddling the fence on whether I like this or hate this, is the fact that there is an increasing tradcon and religious movement coming to this country. And given where Shia LaBeouf was just a few years ago, I cannot sit here and say that I believe that he's doing this because he suddenly fell into the flock. And I think that more of this is him looking at this saying I have an untapped fan base, and I can come out and pay lip service to Jesus and the Catholicism and get a bunch more people to go back and buy my movies. But if he actually did this, this is probably one of the more base conversions I've seen. So I'm definitely on the fence for this. Let's read from the Daily Wire. Hollywood superstar Shia LaBeouf shared a significant update with fans about his conversion to Catholicism and said that he's just months away from being confirmed in the religion he said helped him find faith in a dark time in his life, which he definitely was going through. During the 36-year-old actor's recent appearance on Church Pop, English editor Jacqueline Burkpile asked LaBeouf, who will soon play the late mystic St. Padre Pio in the upcoming film Padre Pio, where he is at in his spiritual journey. LaBeouf said that he will soon be receiving the sacrament of confirmation. Just remember, Shia, I understand you're actual cannibal, but it's not actual blood in the chalice. I'm in RCIA, Rites of Christian Initiation of Adults, LaBeouf said. I'm scheduled to be confirmed in 7 months, and I hope Bishop Barron comes down to confirm me. But we'll see. I'm in RCIA right now, and once a week I get on the horn with Friar Bobby, and we talk shop.
I'm in RCIA. I'm scheduled to be confirmed in 7 months, and I hope Bishop Barron comes down to confirm me. But we'll see. I'm in RCIA right now. Once a week I get on the horn with Father Bobby and we talk shop.
I don't know where this goes. Again, extremely based if true. Incredibly, extremely based if true. This is, for me, because, and I did put this in the middle because this is one to follow. Definitely. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. I hope he's sincere. I do. And I hope he has a long and fruitful life. And maybe does bring some more people into the fold with his conversion, if it is indeed true. Now let's do some things that I hate. As promised at the top of the show, one of the things that I hate today, and I'm going to use a couple tweets to illustrate it, they really hated Pat Robertson. Holy crap. I picked the mildest ones so we could read them on YouTube. Mace Windu tweets out, Pat Robertson died this morning. I just want to take the time to say to everyone that this piece of inhuman shit was evil. I hope hell is real because that's where he fucking belongs. I spit on his grave. With the thread of much, much more charming things. The Unvirgin Mary, who's got the sunflower because our greatest ally, Ukraine. Today we've been a bit of fond fuck you to Pat Robertson from batshit crazy land. Looks like he was already decomposing before he kicked the bucket. And these were the tame ones, by the way. There were a lot worse. There were a lot of people who were jumping for joy and celebrating the fact that he had died during Pride Month, and that was so perfect. And they hope that he's in hell, and you get the picture. They really didn't like this guy. I wasn't a huge fan, but not enough to wish him hell for eternity. Good God. Some more things that I hate. What do I always say about television and movies? Get new ideas. We don't need a new reboot of everything that we loved in the 60s when they had new ideas. Get new ideas. So we've got a back-to-back here from MovieWeb.com. One less offensive, of course. MovieWeb saying Bewitched is getting an animated reboot, described as Hannah Montana meets Harry Potter. From Maka Reynolds. Sony Pictures is ready to make some magic happen with a new Bewitched animated TV series. First premiered in '62 on ABC, the original show starred Elizabeth Montgomery, the gorgeous Elizabeth Montgomery, by the way. And Dick York lasted for 8 seasons, becoming one of the most popular sitcoms in televised history. The story followed Samantha and Darren, a seemingly regular married couple whose simple life changes completely when she confesses to him she's a witch during their honeymoon. Since that moment, their daily lives are filled with weird and comedic situations, especially because Samantha's mother, Endora, is not a fan of the idea of her daughter being married to a mortal. So she tries to make Darren's life a living hell. On Thursday, The Hollywood Reporter broke the news that Sony Pictures is developing a new animated series inspired by Bewitched, described as Hannah Montana meets Harry Potter. This is not the first alternate project related to Bewitched. Back in '65, Dell Comics released a series of short stories with Samantha as the main character. In '72, Hanna-Barbera produced some animated specials for television, and in '05, Nicole Kidman and Will Ferrell starred in a live-action movie inspired by the series. But it wasn't so well received. I have not even seen it, if you can believe that, by the way. Some countries, such as Argentina, India, and Japan, have their own versions of Bewitched, but none of them managed to be as popular as the original. The Bewitched animated reboot will focus on Tabitha, Samantha and Darren's daughter, who was also a part of the original show. In the new series, she'll be 13, so... well, she aged well, apparently. Assisting both a regular... I think that's supposed to be attending, not assisting. Attending both a regular middle school and magical academy to learn how to control her powers, and this is how Hannah Montana and Harry Potter get in the mix. I hate to say this, but as much as I think that I would enjoy seeing something like this, and I'm not the target audience because I'm almost 40 years old, I really, really, really wish, because there are good ideas out there, that Hollywood would get some new ideas. I do. I'm afraid to death that they're going to come back and wokeify the crap out of this thing. I don't know where this is set to air either, by the way. Probably Disney Channel or Disney Plus, because this was an ABC sitcom, and Disney now owns ABC. But the other one, because of course they can't get new ideas, The Partridge Family also, animated reboot, announced will follow a black family from Brooklyn. So they're going to come back and try to do the Wonder Years again. Race swap it, and probably move it up a couple decades. The powers that be at Sony Pictures Television. Kids want to come on and get happy, as a new take on The Partridge Family is now in development. THR reports that Sony has been looking at its library of intellectual properties to see which programs could be rebooted for a new slate of programming aimed at younger viewers, because again, we can't get new stuff. Why can we not get new stuff? The Partridge Family includes, by the way, animated reboots of Partridge Family and Bewitched, along with kid-focused versions of Wheel of Fortune and Shark Tank. Word is that Partridge Family reboot will focus on a black family from Brooklyn's Bed-Stuy neighborhood that operates a food truck. The family travels throughout New York's 5 boroughs to serve up treats and tunes. It's a similar premise to the original show, though they're touring their music for different reasons. Given that it's keeping the Partridge Family title, we can presume the animated reboot's family will have the same last name, though it's unclear if the family members will have anything else in common with the live-action Partridges, such as first names like Shirley, Keith, and Lori. Well, clearly they won't be related. There are definitely some people that are going to have some questions about that. So, no new ideas from Hollywood, which we already knew. Other things that I hate today. First stoves and then incandescent light bulbs. Now the Biden admin is coming after America's gas furnaces, because they hate you. From Joe McKinnon. The Biden admin appears eager to control precisely how Americans illuminate their homes, cook their food, and warm their families. Whereas a ban on incandescent bulbs is imminent, and the implementation of possible gas stove bans remains uncertain, a rule regulating gas furnaces is reportedly forthcoming. The Biden admin is expected to soon finalize its diktat, requiring homeowners to install energy-efficient furnaces, reported Fox News Digital. The Department of Energy detailed the rule in a June 13, 2022 statement, claiming adoption would save consumers billions annually on their energy bills and reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 373 million metric tons over 30 years. Alleged reductions, critics have suggested, are based upon faulty assumptions. And they're not going to stop until you are living in the pod and eating the bugs. I do think that people should get a more efficient furnace. Over time, things break down, things wear down, and you either need a good tune-up or to get something new at some point. But banning your fuel types is not the answer. And there are some homes that electric just cannot do the job for. I have electric heat where I live, by the way. And it is garbage. I can tell you right off the bat. Part of the reason I want to get out of this place. And even after the electric heat went and gave up, and I went over to the local Menards and got myself a infrared heater. I mean, it does the job. But the thing, at some point, when it got down to the zero, it kept it warm in here, but it had to run constantly a couple nights to get there. And that's for me living in a closet, by the way. Imagine the people who live in an actual good-sized house. More things that I hate. We're going to fly through the rest of them here because we're running long. Parental rights groups now on hate map with KKK's SPLC decides. Not that anybody should care what the SPLC thinks, but the fact of the matter is they are going to try to sell this out to the regular American people. The SPLC put several parental rights groups on its hate map alongside the likes of the KKK. The SPLC, an uber-leftist civil rights watchdog, frequently brands conservatives and Christians as hate groups, and this year that includes parental rights groups like Moms for Liberty and Parents Defending Education. Schools especially have been on the receiving end of ramped up and coordinated hard-right attacks, frequently through the guise of parents' rights groups. The SPLC said in its The Year in Hate and Extremism report for 2022 released on Tuesday. They want you separated from your kids. They want control over what they do, and they don't want you to interfere in what they're trying to indoctrinate with. And they are trying to other the people who stand against whatever it is that they're trying to peddle. This is Civil War territory right now. And in the same vein, Dem Maryland official says Muslim children aligned with white supremacists for opposing LGBTQIRA-MIGI-XTBY-AEIOU, sometimes Y curriculum. From Hannah Grossman. A Democratic member of the Maryland City Council blasted Muslim children as on the side of white supremacists after they spoke out against sexuality discussions and materials in classrooms during a heated school board meeting on Tuesday evening. I don't know about you, but that sounds awfully Islamophobic to me, doesn't it? What's hilarious about this is the fact that the progressive left, who has spent every day September 12th, 2001, trying to make the Muslim community into the most marginalized community and protecting them as a marginalized community, are starting to realize what it is that they actually believe and how incompatible it is with the rainbow agenda. Again, something that I've been telling them since 2004. This issue has unfortunately does put some Muslim families on the same side of the issue as white supremacists and outright bigots, said Democrat Kristen Mink of Montgomery County City Council for District 5. I would not put you in the same category as those folks, although, you know, it's complicated because they're falling on the same side of this particular issue. Mink made the remark after Muslim children from the district spoke out against their parents' inability to opt them out of lessons they deemed violated their faith. She argued Muslim families do not have the religious right to opt their children out of LGBTQIRA-MIGI-XTBY-AEIOU, books similar to parents' inability to opt their children out of studying evolution.
and disco. Warn about San Francisco. Make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
Man, that one's getting some mileage today. Another child who was a 2023 graduate from MCPS, Ibrahim Razidun, said, "I'm here to testify on behalf of my elementary age cousins." So, yeah. They don't know what to do because they spent, again, so much time defending this group and making them out to be the martyrs of anti-right-wing hate, or of right-wing, the ire of anti-right, or the ire of right-wing hate. There we go. In ideologies that the sane world has known were incompatible for years. And now it's coming home to roost. Anybody got any popcorn? Let's grab a couple more here. Seattle Fire Department reels after 2 attempts to steal fire engines. This is fine. Everything is fine. Keep defunding the police. This is fine. Everything is fine. From Ari Hoffman. Seattle firefighters have reported 2 instances of people attempting to steal their fire engines while crews were responding to calls last week. And not only they're not trying to break into the garage to steal them, they're trying to steal the truck while it's fighting a fire. If you see this and you're in Seattle, get the hell out of there. According to the Seattle Fire Department, on Wednesday, while the crew of Engine 10 was responding to a fire at the intersection of 8th and Spring and away from the vehicle, they returned to find an approximately 40-year-old woman sitting in the driver's seat. Como News reported that she was unsuccessful and was offered mental health resources. While Engine 10 was responding to an OD call on Thursday at 3rd and Marion, an approximately 50-year-old woman got into the fire truck driver's seat. This is fine. Everything is fine. Seattle police told the outlet that it wasn't the same woman involved in both incidences, especially given the fact that there was 10 years difference between the 2 women. You know what the worst part is? And I shouldn't be saying this out loud. If you have any working knowledge of commercial vehicles, a fire truck would actually not be that hard to steal. This is the part that's going to get clipped. Because they don't have keys. A fire truck, they've got a toggle switch where the key is supposed to be, so that they don't have to go searching for keys or worry about losing keys in the event that there's a fire, so they can go rushing out of the firehouse into the truck, get their equipment on, get in the truck and start it up and go. No worry about where the keys are or how to lock it or unlock it or anything else like that. So pretty much as long as you can release the brake, you're golden. You still have to figure out how to maneuver a 40-foot long vehicle around tight turns. That's between you and your driving skill, but you probably would be pretty easy to get caught too, because that vehicle kind of stands out a little bit. Just saying. Just a little bit. But don't worry, this is fine. Everything is fine. Couple of videos here from AOC. I'm not going to do the AOC videos. I didn't research these ones enough. That's on me. That I don't know enough about what's going on in these videos. I'm going to hold off on those ones. But what I am going to talk about is this one here. The last one we're going to do, Things That I Hate. Katie Hobbs vetoes bill that would have prevented filming porn in K-12 classrooms. even after 2 teachers were fired last fall for allegedly filming OnlyFans content at an Arizona middle school. Yep, this is the world we live in, folks. We live in a world where I just had to read that headline. This is how far we've fallen, folks. Mr. Scott says, SPLC, they're funded by the Chinese to further divide. Civil war is their wet dream. What are they going to do with a fire engine? My cousin has a fire engine. Actually, no, I think that stayed with the other campground. He used to have a fire engine. I think that stayed with the campground that he used to work at, though. I would keep a fire engine. Not a new one, but an old one. Like, I would get a classic fire engine and just keep it there. Keep it up and maintained and have that extra little level of protection for the neighborhood I live in. But I wouldn't take one that's currently in service with the damn municipality. Yeah, gotta find the air brake switch. Alright, let's read about Katie Hobbs from Courtney Wheel. Katie Hobbs, the Democratic governor of Arizona, has vetoed a bill that would have outlawed filming pornographic material in public schools or any other building funded by state taxpayers. The veto comes even after 2 teachers lost their jobs last fall for allegedly filming sexually explicit content at an Arizona middle school and then posting it to the adult access site OnlyFans. Last November, The Blaze reported that the married couple, Samantha and Dylan Peer, had been fired from the Lake Havasu Unified School District after they supposedly recorded Samantha, aka Chloe Carter, engaging in sexual activity inside their classroom at Thunderbolt Middle School at a time when students were not present. The couple then reportedly posted the explicit content rather to OnlyFans, and then shared links to it on various social media accounts that several of her former students followed. Ms. Peer then issued a video statement justifying her behavior on financial grounds, claiming that public teachers' salaries did not pay enough. Mr. Peer was also a teacher at another school in the district before he was terminated. And that's, by the way, all well and good. There are certain districts that are going to have some problems with you doing adult content as a teacher, and some that are not going to care. I would, on most instances, err on the side of don't care. What you do in your private time is between you and the school board. But you're doing it at the school. Like, seriously, there are going to be kids there. You've got a home. Do it there. And when you bring your whatever you do in the privacy of your own home to your workplace, that is definitely a situation where your workplace can make the discretion. I can't believe we even have to make this a law, honestly. The Peers may not have been the only Arizona teachers to use a public classroom as a makeshift studio for pornographic social media content. KPNX TV reported that a kindergarten teacher at the Marana Unified School District resigned 2 years ago after she supposedly snapped explicit photos of herself on school grounds and then posted them online. In order to prevent other such incidences in the future, Republicans in the Arizona legislature passed Senate Bill 1696, which would have banned exposing children to sexually explicit materials and filming or facilitating such content on public buildings. The Arizona Capital Times reported the bill drew little support from state Democrats. And by the way, it's a public building, so they have say in that. Though Hobbs acknowledged the Peer debacle in Lake Havasu area and admitted that not all content is appropriate for minors, she still vetoed the bill as little more than a thinly veiled effort to ban books. Oh my god. Really? I really need to pre-read some of these articles. Because I should be shocked by this, I'm not. Alright, I'm black pilled. Let's get out of here for the day. You know, Quest Fanning once asked me why I don't do things that I hate first and then things I like. I might have to start doing that, because I get so black-pilled by some of these stupid things. It's not even funny. I'm gonna go drink. I'd have to work in the morning. I might still go and drink. Alright, let's get out of here for the night. That was a black-pilled one. That was a bad one. You know what's cool is packed as the stack was, we actually got through almost all of it in an hour and 40. So that was kind of cool. We went a little bit longer than I thought of because there was so much on the things I like and things that I hate, but we got through it all. I've got leftovers tonight, so I can go back and have dinner, a quick dinner tonight, so that'll be cool. But, you know, again, behind the fourth wall, there's some things that I like to let you guys in on, but for the most part, we do want to keep some of this stuff separate here. So let's get out of here for the night. If I had my say, by the way, I would use this song as my outro or my intro, one of the two. I like this song. Lo-Fi Hip Shop. I don't know. It's probably one of my favorites on this. It's not my favorite on this playlist, but it's one of them. But my favorite way to end the night is this one by Stephen Ignoramus. All right, and with that, we are out of here for the night. Thank you, everybody who came by, chatted, and hung out in the live chat. It's been a great time. We got some people coming up in here tonight, so some lurkers, some listeners. Pretty good crowd coming in here tonight, so we're going to try to get those numbers up a little bit more as we start to fill out this time slot. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a fantastic time. We're going to be here tomorrow night talking about whatever happens in the next 22 hours. Spoiler alert, we're probably going to spend the majority of the time talking about indictment number 2 because that is apparently on at this point. So we'll go over some of that and see what's happening there, see what some of the facts are coming up. Maybe we'll have a charge list by that point too. I know I've been kind of watching the Twitter trending as we go by on the Twitter tabs and seeing what they're talking about. And they're talking about the federal court and 7 indictments. So we'll be doing research for that. We'll see what happens there and what happens with that. Come back and join me for that tomorrow over here on Contemporary. It's going to be a great time. Bring some friends, get some more people in here, and we will have a big crowd and a lot of live chat here. So come back in and head out of here for the night. Take care, hug your family, get some food, enjoy your night. Turn on the air conditioning if that's your thing, because I think that's going to be happening here in just a little bit. And stick around if you're on the Twitch side. Who are we going to go raid on the Twitch side tonight? Let's do. Oh, Brutiful's on tonight. Let's go do Unfiltered Brew tonight. So thank you for that. We're out of here. Take care. Have a good night. Stick around if you're on the Twitch side. We will go see our friend Brew. And with that, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.